All right, we are live. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Today we're going to take a look at something I don't usually get a chance to show, and that is a tip in Adobe Premiere Pro. Premiere Pro is kind of like my side gig, so to speak. It's not a product I focus on, but it is one I use and love and love and love and love. I've used Premiere since way back in the early days when you were editing from a tape. So I love Premiere. It's just not my primary focus. But with that said, I did get a question from one of my viewers that wanted to know for live streams like this, where you're using live streaming software such as OBS, which is free, Wirecast, which is paid, this is the one I use, and whatever else you might be using, to create an animated lower third so that you can put it in that streaming software. And I thought, oh, well, that'd be kind of cool. Because if you were doing an animated lower third for your video in Premiere, you wouldn't need to do anything else. You just make it and use it in Premiere. But if you want to make it and use it in another piece of software, such as maybe your screen recording software, I also use ScreenFlow, then you need to export it out in a certain way so that it can be transparent. That way you get to use it in other software besides the editing software of Premiere or After Effects. So that's the tip we're going to be doing today, is not only how to create it easily, but how to export it so that it maintains that transparency so that you can put it on top of another video or a live stream in another piece of software. All right, so with that said, let me show you how this would work. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my computer. I see Renee, I see Victoria, I see Daryl. Welcome, everyone, and thanks for the folks joining me on Twitter and YouTube as well. Let me just check one more thing there. Okay, good. All right, we are good to go. So let me go ahead and switch over to the computer so you guys can see what I'm doing. Now, as usual, I've launched the application, so I have Premiere Pro running in the background. I just haven't done anything yet. It's just showing me a list of projects I've worked on in the past. We're going to, of course, start from scratch, just like you would, and show you how to do this from the very beginning. So step one, launch Premiere. Step two, you would go ahead and create a new project. Now it's going to ask you, where do you want to save your project? What name do you want to give it? I'm going to call it Lower Third. You can call it whatever you want, save it wherever you want. I'm going to save it out to my desktop. We're going to create a new folder. We're going to call that new folder Lower Third Videos. And there's a new folder just popped up. We'll go ahead and choose it. And that's pretty much it. So Lower Third is the name of the project. Where we put it is wherever you want on the hard drive. And then last but not least, the rendering engine is important depending on your computer capabilities. So if you're working with 1080p or less on a fairly new computer, you pretty much use anything. I prefer Mercury Playback Engine GPU Acceleration Metal for my Mac. If you have a video card that uses specific codecs, use that. But, or if you don't know, just use the defaults. You'll be fine for this. You won't be doing anything that intensive that you need to really worry about which renderer you pick. I was just giving that out as a side note. So I prefer on the Mac Metal. Second choice would be OpenCL. And if you don't have any of these choices, software only will be just fine. All right, so let's go ahead and click OK. That will give me a brand new Premiere Pro window. Now, in order to create our timeline to put our lower third on, we need a video. So in other words, we need something to put the lower third on so that we can see it, so we can make sure it's transparent, so we can make sure it animates the way we want. And it doesn't matter what that something is. It could be a video, it could be a still frame from Photoshop, it could be whatever you want it to be. But the important thing is, you want to bring in a video that's the size that you live stream in. For example, the stream you're watching right now is being live streamed at 1080p, which is 1920 by 1080. So I would want my video or background or whatever I'm going to make in Photoshop or video I'm going to bring in to be 1920 by 1080 so that my lower third won't be too big or too small when I finally bring it into my live streaming software or wherever it's going to go. So for example, out here on my computer, I've got this stinger that I sometimes play before my live streams, and it is 1920 by 1080. So again, the key is to make it the same size of my live stream or whatever the intended purpose is going to be. So in other words, I wouldn't want to use a 4K video for this because I don't stream in 4K. And therefore, I'd be making potentially a lower third that's too tiny because it will be squishing it down, or too big. So I'm just going to drag over this sample video because, again, the video is not the important part. It's just going to give us something to put our lower third on. So once I drag it into the project, it's there. I can double click on it. There we go. Oh, hang on. I don't want to double click on that. I want to double click on that. There we go. Now it'll bring it up in the source window, and we can scrub through it, and it's just literally a sample video. We don't really care what this is, but we do need it to be a timeline, a sequence. So we're going to drag it from here over to the sequence window to create our timeline, and that will do it. So now if I were to hit my space bar while this is the focus, it will play the video in the source or program window over here. This was our source window. Here's the program window. And again, don't care. That's not the important thing. The important thing was just getting a sequence created that's the right size, and so we can preview our lower third on. So that's the whole purpose of bringing that video in and dragging it over. Now, once I drag it over, it did create a sequence. That sequence usually will be named the exact same thing as the video you brought it over on. You can, of course, go in and rename it. So I'm going to rename it TW lower third. That will make sense in a minute. The video is still the video, but the sequence that we have right here now is called TW lower third. You call it whatever you want. And you don't have to rename it. So now, here's the fun part. Let's go find our lower third. Now, in order to make this easier, just make sure you're in the right, what's the word I'm looking for? The right workspace. So there's an assembly workspace, there's an editing workspace, there's a color workspace, there's an effects workspace, so forth and so on. You want to be either on the graphics workspace or you want to be on the editing workspace, because what you need from either one of those two is you need, that's weird, in that workspace, it makes my video, okay, I was going to say it makes my video look funny. But in that workspace, in either one of those, you need the Essential Graphics panel. Let's say you're in a workspace that doesn't have the Essential Graphics panel. Well, I like this workspace. Can I still use it? Yes. Just go up to your window menu and pull it down. Bring up the Essential Graphics panel, and that will put it on the side. So no matter what workspace you're in, even if it doesn't have it, you can bring that workspace over if you need it. All right, so I'm going to go back to the graphics workspace because that's what we're working on graphics. And my source window is still doing weird things. Let's go ahead and just flip it and then flip it back. It's just distracting. I don't need it, but it was a distraction. Okay, what we really need out of here is you want to be on the Browse tab, and you're probably going to be on My Templates to start. You don't need libraries checked right now because you probably don't have any templates saved, even if that option is available. And what you want to do is if you scroll down, you will see all the built-in motion graphic templates or any that you have already brought over from Adobe Stock. So there's tons. There's titles, there's backdrops, there's big titles for your opening, big titles for your closing, there's closing graphics. What we're looking for are lower thirds. So I don't want to have to scroll through all that to find a good lower third. I just want to go ahead and click in the search box and type in lower third. You want to spell it out. Don't use just the numbers. And then that will just narrow this list down to the lower thirds. And there are quite a few. And if you want to see if a lower third is animated, you can usually hover over it and it will show you the animation. There we go. It will show you the animation of that lower third. If you hover over it, scrub past it, I'm not pressing down the mouse, I'm just moving my mouse back and forth across, and it doesn't move, then that lower third is probably not an animated lower third. And it might take a second, or you might have to click on it before you'll be able to see that, because it has to load it before you'll be able to see that animation. So just note that some are animated, some aren't. And this is my favorite one. This is one I use all the time, even though I don't see the animation on it just yet. But that one is animated. All right. Once you find one that you like, you literally just pick it up and drag it over. And you probably want to put it at the very beginning of the video, because you're going to export it at the beginning anyway when we're done. So if you put it like in the middle of the video or anywhere else, and by the way, you're putting it above your sample video, it's just you're going to have to move it at the end anyway. So I'm going to put it all the way at the beginning, all the way to the left of the timeline. And now if I were to hit play, I see my lower third coming in very slowly. Now, why is it so slow? Because it's having to animate that on the fly on top of a live video, and I'm showing it at half res. I'm saying full res and half res are saying, show me the good quality as it's playing. Well, if you don't need to see that, meaning that that's not that important to see it while it's playing full res, then drop down to a quarter quality or drop down to a lower number. And then that way it should speed up the playback and you'll see it more and more in real time. Also, remember when we picked the metal codec to begin with? Some codecs work better than others. So for example, I might go to my project settings if I think things are playing back too slow. And let's go to general. And let's switch it from metal back to OpenCL, which is what I started with. It's going to say, or it didn't say anything, but if it had to get rid of previews, it would. And so now when I play it, still not as real time as I would like it, but trust me, it will play back in real time once you export it. All right, so there we go. It's playing that back. And by the way, if I now, of course, want to change what it says, because I don't want first name, last name, your title, some motion graphics templates you edit right on the canvas. Some you will edit right in the panel. It depends on which one you used. If you use one that was built in, you're going to edit it right on the canvas. If you use one of the ones you got from Adobe Stock, chances are it's even got more features and you're going to edit it on the panel itself. It doesn't matter. But when you double click, if you can't double click on the name or to change it, meaning that doesn't highlight, then go over to the panel to do it. So I would change my name to Terry White. You can type it in upper or lowercase, whatever you want. It does not have to be all caps. That was just the suggestion that they gave. Then I would change the title, triple click to get it all selected. And I'm going to say YouTuber at terrywhite.tv. That's my YouTube channel. All right, so now I could go ahead and just simply scrub back and hit play. And the green bar comes up, it bounces, then the Terry White and YouTuber comes in, and then a blue bar comes in. Well, what if I don't like those colors? Maybe I don't like green and blue. What could I do? Well, you could go in, select it again, and most motion graphic templates let you edit all the pieces of them. So I noticed there are 4 components that make this up. There's a vertical line, a horizontal line, my name, and the title. So if I don't like the green line, I would click on vertical line. There's the green fill color. Change it to whatever you like. So if you like black, for example, instead of green, make it black. So now there's a black line there. If I click on the horizontal one and I don't want it to be blue, I want it to be a different color, then I would go in and say, hey, let's make that one maybe red. Because I do like red for the line there. So let's go ahead and click OK. And now I have a black vertical line and a red horizontal line with my name and everything under it. Now, the speed at which your motion graphic will play is based on whatever the default was for the person that created it. If you want it to stay on longer or go off sooner, you can control that by stretching it out on the timeline to make it play longer or stay longer, or condense it, which is another great feature of motion graphics templates. You don't have to change any settings, and it will tell you what the duration is. So right now my duration, if I let go, it's going to be 8 seconds and 18 frames. If I want it to stay on for maybe 10 seconds or so, I could shrink it down and make it stay on for 10 seconds. All right, so now it will still animate on at whatever speed it normally animates. Again, we're not looking at it in real time here on the stream. Once it's up, it'll just stay there for the length of time, so it's staying there longer. And then once it gets to the end, it'll animate out. So the animation on the beginning and the animation on the end doesn't change. You're just keeping the middle part there longer. All right, so now that we got that in place, and again, it will stay there for 10 whole seconds, playing on top of this video. And once it does that, it will animate out the way there goes the red bar, there goes the type, and the black bar goes down. All right, so it animated out perfectly. Now, I like that one, but let's see another one. So what if you go back to browse and you looked and you looked and you looked and you just don't like the built-in ones that are here? Well, notice that there's a choice between My Templates and Adobe Stock. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh no, Adobe Stock, I can't afford that. You know, this is for me personally. I don't want to spend money. That's okay. Click on Adobe Stock because there's a checkbox for free. Show me just the free motion graphic templates. I don't want to pay for anything. There you go. Now they're free. So I click on the free ones. I do the same search for lower third. It starts searching for lower third motion graphics templates that are free. Now, I can't scroll down. This one, when you're searching on Adobe Stock, there's no scroll up and down. It only shows you 2 or 3 at a time, and then you page to the right. So there are 32 pages of free lower thirds. I can just keep going, keep going, keep going, till I see one that I like, and then drag it over. Now, I did this one. This one has a check mark on it already. I kind of like the wave. I thought that was really cool. It's got a check mark on it because I've already downloaded that one. So let's find a different one that I haven't downloaded yet. Clean lower third on the left. I kind of like that. Modern lines on the right. I kind of like that. 90s style. So let's play with that one. Let's see what that one does. So how would I get this one? It's free. Same way. Even though it's not downloaded yet, all you do is drag it into your project, just like you did the other one, and wait. And it will not only download everything it needs to make this work, if there are any fonts that are required, it'll sync them too. So you're good to go. So now we can bring the playhead over to where this one is. We can hit play, and we can watch that one animate on. Your name here, the second line goes here, so forth and so on. And again, why was it fuzzy? Because we're playing it at a quarter res. So when you stop, zzz, it goes into full quality, but while it's playing, it's just giving you an idea of what it's going to look like. And again, we can make that shorter. It doesn't have to stay up as long as it is, or we can make it longer to stay up longer. Okay, so how would we edit this one? Well, we go back to the Edit tab. First of all, we select it. We go back to the, and that takes me to the Edit tab. And this one, let me just see here. Is this one going to, nope. So this one, this is one of those where you're going to change everything in the panel. So my name goes here. I change it in the panel. Terry White. And let's go find the title. The second line goes here, whatever you want that second line to say. YouTuber at terrywhite.tv. All right, and now I got my second line, and that's it. So now my animated title is ready to go. Here it comes, Terry White, animating YouTuber at terrywhite.tv. And if I want to see what it really looks like, just hit pause and it will show you what it's really going to look like when it's done. All right, and again, it's fuzzy because we're playing it back at a quarter res, so it's not really rendered yet. That's also what the red line means. All right, so now that we've done this, let's say that we want either one of these, because you have to do them one at a time unless you want 2 titles to play. So I could, let's see, let's make the first one, since we already did the first one, let's do the first one first. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one for a second. Let's get rid of it. And now also we're going to go back to the very beginning, And we're going to get rid of our sample movie because you don't want to export the movie. You just want the title. So we just use the movie or the still image as a reference. Now we can delete it. Just hit the delete key. And now the only thing on the timeline is your animated title. Okay, so it's going to show on black because there's no video behind it, and that's fine. So black in Premiere Pro represents transparency. And that's what we want to do. We want to preserve the transparency of this title so that when it's exported out, we can put it on top of something else. So for example, we would now make sure this window is the focus. It has the blue line around it. If it wasn't, whichever window has the blue line around it, click on this window, your sequence window. And then you're going to go up to your file menu and you're going to go to export and you're going to go to media. This is how you would export this out. Now, you want to export it out as, because it's going to give you a bunch of different options. Normally, if I were exporting a regular Premiere Pro video out, I would just do H.264. And then I would choose YouTube or whatever I wanted to check this out at. But because we're trying to export a video out with transparency, that's only the length of this title, that's 10 seconds, 8 frames, we want to choose QuickTime on the Mac and AVI on Windows. And you want to choose a preset that has an alpha channel. Alpha means transparency. So you want to look for alpha when you do your export. So QuickTime on the Mac, AVI, I think, on Windows. I can't remember what I said. And then, of course, make sure whatever one you're using has an alpha channel. All right, that's it. So now we're going to tell it where to put it. So we're going to click the actual name of the video. We're going to say put it in our lower thirds videos. It's going to be a .mov file when it's done because that's what QuickTime does. And we just hit export. And it's going to be really quick because it is quick. All right, so now if we were to go look at it, and we were to go out to the desktop, and we were to go to our lower third videos, there it is. And again, plays back in real time the way it's supposed to. All right, so now how do I know that that works? Well, I could bring it back into Premiere and put it on top of video to see it. Let's do that first. All right, so there is the one called lower third movie. We're going to get rid of the one that we used to make it, get that off the timeline. And then we're going to put our video back on the timeline. And we're going to put our new transparent one, the .mov file, which is behind my head there. That one, we're going to drag that on top of it to see if it actually worked. And did it work? Oh no. No, we didn't get our transparency. All right, this is what happens when you don't get the transparency. You get black because that's not what it should be. It should be transparent. All right, so let's go back to undo, 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 put it back. And let's see what we did not do. Let's go back to our export. And, I see something there, custom. That's not good. There we go. We want to make it with transparency. So somehow that ProRes codec did not get chosen when we did it. And I may not have it on this machine. That could be another issue. All right. Okay, let's try it again. Export. I just want to go back to that export again and make sure it's not doing. Okay, that time it's stuck. It did not change it to something else. And let's see if we can bring that one in again and see if that one actually has the transparency on it. Otherwise, I have messed this up. Get rid of this one. Put our video in there. There we go. There's my transparency. All right. So somehow it didn't get chosen the first time. Don't know why, but now we can see it with transparency, and I'm using the one that I just exported. So now if I were to take that one, not this one, the old one. Let's get rid of the old one. All right, let's keep the one that's transparent. If I were to send that over to my streaming system, I should be able to play it. So let's see if we can do that. Let's put it over on in this folder, which is a Dropbox folder, and it should sync that to my machine, which I see it syncing, and I should be able to add that as an overlay so you'll actually see it on the stream. So we'll give it a second to sync. And by the way, we'll get out of that. Oop, cancel. And we'll get rid of this. There we go. Still syncing. Let me make sure that it's still okay. It's finished syncing. Now let's go ahead and pull it in. You can't see what I'm doing because I'm actually doing this on the streaming computer. Let's go ahead and add a media file. And in my overlays folder, there should be a new movie. There it is. And I've now turned it on. And there it is on top of my head. All right, you should be able to see that. Hey, I'm behind it. But there it is. So, and if I were using it for this live stream, that would be fine. If I were maybe, maybe in this view, that would be fine that it's doing that. Now, I've also, it's looping because when I placed it in the streaming software, I didn't tell it to hold it or get rid of it at the end. So that's the default behavior, is that it loops. Your video won't loop by default like that, unless you're putting it in Wirecast. All right, so there it is, working transparent in my streaming software for my live stream as we intended. And if I were to go in now and I were to go to the settings for it, I could tell it not to loop like that. Don't loop, hold, or remove. And actually, let's just say remove. There we go. We'll go out of it now. All right, good, good, good. And now we'll go ahead and play it. So you should see it. It should come on. There it is. Oh, wait, one more thing. I didn't tell it to play from the beginning. Sorry, this is all Wirecast stuff. So let's tell it to play from the beginning. Don't remember position. There we go. And now let's do it one more time. Okay, this should be for the money. This should be the real one. And we click on it. It comes up. It plays in real time in my streaming software. It stays on for 10 seconds and then it should go away. And it did. That's it. So that's how you do one of these. And the same one that we got from Adobe Stock, we would just rinse and repeat, do the same thing. Put it in our timeline, export it out with that ProRes alpha channel, and away we go. So, took us a minute to get there, but that is the procedure for making these transparent, animated lower thirds easily, because you have all these beautiful templates that you can customize, and saving them out with transparency so that you can use them in any software that supports a video as an overlay. So OBS, which is free, Wirecast, which is paid. I use ScreenFlow for my screen recordings. It works in there too. And I've used these lower thirds everywhere. And of course in Premiere Pro for my videos that I work on. All right, so with that said, cheers everyone. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye, everybody. Have a good one.